Hey y'all. So I'm going to refer you guys to his name is Matt. I forget his last name, but he was a divorce lawyer for rich people, celebrities, rich people. And he was married, he's divorced himself, and he's not shy about talking about that or anything else. And he said that, my wife, my ex, we got divorced and she's remarried. She's been married for some time now. And he's been seeing someone for some time now. So he's in a long-term relationship with someone. And that's a beautiful thing. He's not cynical. He's not bitter. He's not, marriage can't be trusted. I got a divorce. A lot of men get divorced. Look how cutthroat people are. I hate people. I'm never going to get in a relationship again. Marriage sucks. Women suck. They're terrible. He's not red pill-ish. And I hate the colored pills. There's all these stupid-ass pills. Whoever came up with that needs a smack. But the red pill guys are the total opposite. Women are horrible, and women are this and that and the other. And, there's no responsibility for the men and their choices of a partner. There's no responsibility for that because everything is the woman's fault. Now, I do agree that the laws are antiquated regarding divorce and the laws are unfair towards men. And I think it's ridiculous that the law wants to take the majority of a man's money and pay for not only the children, but to pay for her lifestyle too. So, and I do know of people who have decided they don't want to work no more. They're tired of working. And so he pays for her lifestyle to sit on her behind, in addition to if she sits on her behind. Some women work because they don't mind making their own money. But the law just kind of, rakes men over the coals when it comes to laws and that sort of thing. And I'm itchy, which is so much fun. So I like Matt because he's down to earth. He's easy to understand. He has different perspectives. He's not angry. He's not bitter. He's not, like I said, he's not red pillish. He doesn't think all women are horrible. And he's seen all kinds of really bad situations. Like he said, one guy was interviewing him and said, well, what is the quickest you saw someone get a divorce? And he said, it was either 24 or 48 hours. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Depending on the circumstances. Yeah, it depends on the circumstances. If the person revealed that they're mean, hateful, nasty, and now that I own you, I got a piece of paper on that ass, I'm going to rule you all kinds of ways. You gonna wish you were in prison after messing with me. So in those instances, you cannot get to the, to the lawyer's office quick enough, as far as I'm concerned. So it just depends if the person totally misrepresented themselves or they can never have children and didn't tell you until after you got married and that kind of thing. So there are extenuating circumstances and people are tricky. So they do run game, and running game can get you divorced. So I'm going to tell you, under one of the interviews, under that interview, there were so many negative comments from males. Can't really call them men because real men don't act like a 2-year-old and complain about how someone else is always the worst. They take responsibility for their own actions. So you have all these a bunch of males under this one particular video, and they were slamming the hell out of women and go MGTOW and women are horrible and they would destroy your life and they would take all your money, which is not the woman's fault. It is the law that permits the men to get raked over the coals. Okay. None of those men take responsibility for their part in it. And what I mean by that is, and I've said this before, and I will say it again, And this applies to women to a certain degree, although men in general have a super high sex drive. Men in general, we're not talking about narcissists who only use sex to manipulate people. We're not talking about that. We're talking about your average person who's not toxic, okay? They, you know, your average guy has a super high sex drive, or at least they perpetrate that. I don't know if they're trying to do that to prove how manly they are, how masculine they are. I don't really know where that comes from, but I do know, as desperate as men are to get up in there, okay, if he was deserted on an island and there was no food and water, you can't drink the salt water, it'll kill you. It'll literally kill you. No food, no water, no shelter, and he's going to be stranded indefinitely. I'm here to tell you, the mandatory I have to get between somebody's legs would not be on his to-do list. Okay? Unless he's just plumb dumb. He'd be like, okay, all right, shit, okay. I don't know if I'm ever going to get rescued, so I'm going to have to figure something out. I need shelter in case the weather pops off. I should get some stones and twigs or whatever I can find and put help in the sand real big, so if anybody flies across, they'll see that in the sand. What am I going to eat? Are any of these plants edible? Are any of these plants dangerous to eat? Last on his list would be bending somebody over. Okay? So the obsession with that is so creepy to me, and it's so weird. But women who are manipulators or women who are toxic know that men have, I don't want to say almost no self-control, but almost no self-control when it comes to the physicality. So women know this, and they've always known this. So that's what they hone in on, and that's what they go for. Whether they're trying to get married or they're trying to manipulate you in other ways, they want access to your money, or they want to get married for business reasons, or whatever. Or they want to get the clock, their biological clock is ticking, and so they have to hurry up, and they feel like they have to hurry up and get married, or they just want to manipulate the person. She knows that men are weak when it comes to physicality. Not all men, just the majority. So what is she going to do? Rock his world upside down. Have his toes curled, have him talking in Swahili and with a Jamaican dialect and Spanish and French all in one setting. He's going to be multilingual because it was that good. Okay, women know that men, that's the physicality, that's a man's weakness, biggest kryptonite. So she's going to use that to her advantage. She's going to laugh at all his jokes. She's going to be charming. She's always going to be in a good mood. She's always going to have makeup on. Her hair is always going to be done. And she's going to rock the holy hell out of him. She's going to get along with his family, his friends, and she's going to be the best thing in the world until he says, I do. And then all hell breaks loose. So instead of being red pill-ish, and which I hate those terms, but they're hateful. So men are hateful who are part of the red pill movement. So instead of letting a woman rock you to marriage, you need to keep your clothes on. Don't be getting online talking about everybody's this and women are that. You had no self-control. You had no self-control. Two things that make a man super weak: beauty and legs open. Those two things make a man go, oh, McDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And he just can't think straight. So when you don't, and I'm not being funny, but if you do not have discipline, and this goes for women too, because some men who are toxic will rock the hell out of women. And before you know it, she gets rocked so good, she's speaking in multi-languages, and then she gives him the key to her house and lets him move in, and you can have all my passwords. I mean, people get real stupid behind physical. Really dumb behind physical. And people that are toxic know that. That is why you have to separate your logic from physical. And I strongly suggest you stay celibate in your relationship as long as you possibly can. If you want this to be long-term as in forever, then I strongly suggest you keep the physical out of it, because that skews people's judgment, makes them act dumb, makes them irrational, confuses hormones with love and everything else. But men in particular are easy to manipulate physically because they do not have that much in the way of self-control. I saw a clip earlier. I couldn't even watch the whole video because I just couldn't believe what the hell I was looking at. And I'll make this quick. A cop was... The lady got arrested. I don't know what she did. It was on YouTube. She got arrested and she said, "I will F you now." And he said, don't be talking like that. This is all recorded. Don't be talking like that right now. Don't be talking about that right now. Not, don't talk to me like that. Don't talk to me like that right now. Then he locked himself in the back seat. I don't know how, but somehow he's in the back seat with her, trying to get his groove on. And so naturally he got busted, and I'm sure he's going to lose his career and everything else over a piece of tail. You stupid. Plus she got arrested, so she's not really doing the right thing. And you think that's hot? Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean? Stupid, right? So I address these women haters, and this is what I said. All the negative speaking morons on this thread, the one with the divorce attorney, I think he's retired now. I don't think he does that anymore. But anyway, all the negative speaking morons on this thread prove why relationships fail. They want to sit here, treat people like crap, then become a victim afterwards, and blame this man, the attorney, and every other lawyer because they are too toxic to see their own flaws. So they want to attack a divorce attorney and say, "Oh, he can't wait for people to get divorced. He's a bloodsucker. Why the fuck are you blaming him? He wasn't in the middle of your marriage. You were. He's got a career. Don't you have a career too? Does anybody blame you for the career that you do? That's like saying a doctor's a doctor because he's going to get off on people getting sick. You know how stupid you sound? A doctor is a doctor because people will need medical attention. Okay? A divorce attorney is there. That's what he does for a living, and people will need him or her. You don't criticize any other field. Why are you jumping on lawyers? Not all lawyers are snakes. And if you were a decent person and you got this straight before you got married, way before you got married, so now you're a much better person. You're not as toxic as you used to be. Maybe you're not toxic at all because you had therapy. This way you can't blame other people like a divorce attorney for your failures. Anyway, move right along. I was with a malignant narc for 25 years because he did like y'all do. Pretended he was a nice guy who was generous and protective. He was anything but. The mask always slips. He was never faithful, which I didn't find out till way later. He's another toxic ass person who sabotages his own life and then has the audacity to get his feelings hurt when I wanted to end things. He emotionally abandoned me way before I filed for divorce. Do you know how many married men hit on myself and the staff at the bar I go dancing at? They're willing to stick it in someone other than their wife and risk losing everything over a toss in the sack. How dare you, capital letters, how dare you get mad at someone who helps women escape males just like you? What the hell did you think was going to happen when she got tired of your toxicity? You don't hear women on here complaining about you on here. Grow up. Stop being whiny babies. Get in therapy. If you really despise women because you're secretly desiring men, which happens also, again, get in therapy. Being a perpetual victim is childish, irresponsible, and a massive turnoff. Let me read that line again. Being a perpetual victim is childish, irresponsible, and a massive turnoff. So you got stuck on beauty and legs open and her fake charm, if she's a bad person. And then, because she rocked you so good, You're like, hey, it's only been a few months. And yes, I did coach a person who was married for only a few, or he was only seeing her for a few months and decided, you know, I'm going to marry her because I want this for a lifetime. That's a massive mistake. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if that person is toxic, anybody could be your best dream come true for a short period of time. What are they like 6 months from now, a year from now, a year and a half from now, 2 years from now? Anybody can be charming, laugh at all your jokes. Oh my God, you're so funny. Oh my God. I can barely breathe. You're amazing. And it could all be fake. I know a guy who was my neighbor where I used to live back in the day. And I told y'all this a long time ago. The woman he married, I didn't like because I had met her. She was married to one of my coworkers at the hospital when I worked at the hospital. And then they got a divorce. And then I met her, and she's one of those people that thinks, what are you talking to me for? She has hair down to her behind. She's not attractive. She's plain, but she has really long hair. And I guess based on that alone, she thinks she is all that honey. And so I said, hey, how are you? And she just went. And I'm like, oh, wow, she's a bitch. That's what I thought to myself. Well, boy, did I hit the nail on the head or what? He married my neighbor. And he found out that she's a big fake. She smokes. She drinks. Every other word is a cuss word. She's loud. She's obnoxious. She is 1000% the opposite of what he met. If he had taken his time, 6 months to a year and a half, he would have seen that she is full of crap. I could have told him that she's not a good person. But anyway, move right along. So, and I'm not picking on men just for the physical part, because women use men for that too. You know, I'm going to manipulate you sexually, and men do the same with women. People manipulate each other. And so when you're manipulating for your pleasure, and you might not even realize you're manipulating, but if you're going for physicality, you're illogical right out the gate, because you're not operating on, and we've talked about this many times, you're not operating on a logical playing field. You're operating off of hormones and how hard they had you climax. And the fact that they're so romantic and so sexy and just so everything. What the fuck does that have to do with a lifelong partner? That's only a tiny part of the pie, baby. It's only a tiny part of the pie. Let's not make it most of the pie. Okay? If you were to go into business for yourself, you're not going to be sitting here with rose-colored glasses on unless you're silly. Okay? You're going to be thinking, okay, I have to write out a business plan. I have to figure out what kind of business I want to get into. Will I be able to take out a loan for X amount of dollars to pay my staff until business starts coming in? Will I be able to have enough money to pay my staff? Will I have enough money for my inventory? Am I going to be an online, or am I going to be a brick and mortar? Maybe I'll save money if I'm online. Maybe hire somebody who is a business consultant who can help you get your business off the ground with the least amount of glitches. You're not going to be thinking, oh my God, I'm going to business for myself. One day I'm going to be rich. I'm going to get a fancy car. I'm going to be driving. Oh my God, I'll have the most expensive sunglasses and the most expensive sports car, and I'm going to live in a 25-bedroom mansion, and oh my God, I will have exotic plants imported from Jamaica to my home, and I'm going to have a staff. And you're not going to think silly. You're going to think concrete. How can I get my business off the ground? Will I have enough money for X amount of months until money starts coming in? Maybe a year, maybe 2 years, whatever the case may be. Should I hire a professional business consultant to help me get this off the ground? I don't have enough experience. Should I hire someone who can handle, payroll? I'm not great in math. I'll hire someone who does payroll. the last thing on your mind, if you're business savvy, is not going to be having dollar signs in your eyes and acting silly and, oh my God, I have images of everywhere I go, paparazzi's following me and I'm signing autographs. That's silly and childish. So we're not running away with nonsensical thoughts. We're going to run with what's concrete. Well, that's what you do in a business relationship, which is a marriage, a long-term relationship that's possibly going to be a marriage. What concrete things do we need to talk about and do we need to focus on other than legs up in the air or legs open and booties, pounding it? That's irrelevant. That is all irrelevant and it's not concrete, right? So you need to be thinking important things like, how do you feel about getting married one day? Eventually, not because you had great sex for one night and we need to talk about marriage. Let's reel it back in, okay? Let's think. What's your religion? Do you believe in God? What do you think about money? How do you feel about relocating? What are your religious beliefs? Where are your family located? Where would we go, for the holidays? Your family's out of town. My family's in town. How do we do that? Do we alternate holidays with our families? Especially if you've been seeing each other for a period of time. How do you feel about relocating? Because what if your partner or your spouse decide, they get a job outside the state? You know what I mean? And you're determined you're never going to leave. That needs to be discussed before you, plan a future. So you're going to be thinking, hopefully, if you're smart and not brainwashed with hormones, you're going to be thinking solidity. Like, what's going to be solid for us? What's going to keep us on solid footing? Do you like your career? How do I feel about my career? Do you want to go back to school one day? What will we do if one of us goes back to school full time? Can the other person foot the bills or I'll go to school part time until da 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 da? This is solid footing. This is solid ground, not hormones. How loud do you make me scream in bed and all that? That is freaking bullshit. And unfortunately, a lot of relationship, I've said this time and time again, I'm not going to change my stance on it because it's worse now than it ever was. Okay. People banging on the first date. Come on. And then they wonder why they're lonely and depressed when they're older because everything you did was revolved around hormones and how my body feels good. And it's not based on anything concrete. And that leads to depression and anxiety and in some cases worse. And I'm hot again. So what else is new? So yeah, I think that people rush into the physical and get married based on that. And that doesn't make any sense. That's 1000% illogical. And then you find out later, after you get married, that this individual is great in bed, but they are an atheist. Which doesn't jive with you or your family or whatever. Hold on. Oh, that's going to be so much better. Woo, I'm dying. And people who are atheists love to tell everybody that they're an atheist. They just really dig that. Why? I have no idea, but they love talking about that. So you're going to find out pretty quick if they are. You'll be like, is it going to rain today? I don't know, but I'm an atheist. Seriously, that's how people do. It's just crazy as hell. And even before you discuss a future, you need to know what deal breakers are. You need to know what deal breakers are. If the person's a smoker, for me, that's a deal breaker. That's gross. That's just totally gross. And I don't want to hold your hand while you die of lung cancer and it was all self-inflicted, although you could get cancer without being a smoker, but if you're a smoker, you kind of exacerbate the possibility of that. I don't need you dying from lung cancer and you just kept doing it. And some people do it even after they have a terminal diagnosis. Well, I'm dying anyway, so I don't care. I'm not signing up for that. I just don't want to do that. Plus, it stinks to high heaven, and it's just gross, and it's a bunch of toxins that you're putting in your body on purpose. Come on, it's silly. Anyway, move right along. So I think that everything is built on instant gratification, instant physical gratification, A lot of people are also, and we talked about this many times, a lot of people are extremely toxic and they have no business being in a relationship, much less marriage. Because your head is not screwed on right. Okay? And I know people like that. Their head's not screwed on right. They have no business being with anyone. If they want to see somebody, it should be a shrink. A lot of toxic people get into marriages too. That's another reason why they fail. Because your ass is toxic and you're not qualified to be in a relationship. You can't even handle your own emotions. How you going to handle somebody else's? Right? Lots and lots of toxic people running around, and that is going to exacerbate the divorce exponentially. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. If you build a house on quicksand, don't expect it to last. I like the idea of staying celibate until you get married. I like that idea. This way, anything that you feel is not based on hormones. Now, do people have the discipline to do that? Not always. Do I think it's ideal? Yes. Unless the person's dishonest, then you can get an annulment. Like the person has an ED issue and can't perform and didn't tell you until you said I do, and you want children one day. Obviously, that's based on a lie. The person wasn't honest with you. You can't have children with them. And so I think that you should be able to get an annulment just based on deception, you know. Don't rush into marriage too because you're lonely and you have this, and we talked about this so many times, you have this romantic idea of marriage. It's so beautiful, it's so romantic, it's a covenant under God, and it's this and that. It ain't shit other than a contract, a business contract. I got you no matter what happens. I got you no matter what happens. We're going to work together as a team, like a sports. Like in sports, everybody on the team works together. Well, in a marriage, it's 2 people on the team, and both of you should be working together. So, if one person is a liar, deceptive, toxic, married for the wrong reasons, married based on hormones, then it's not going to work out. Now, some people it works out for, but do you really want to play emotional Russian roulette to see if that works for you or not? I wouldn't want to do that. Let me do something irresponsible and hope it works out in the end. You really want to do that? That's emotional Russian roulette. I don't think that's smart. And I'm gonna tell you something about these red pill dudes that hate women and hate marriage, and they got yanked on their marriage, which is their fault. Blame your penis. Blame your penis because you saw a beautiful woman, or she rocked you, and you thought, hell, I want this forever. And a lot of them don't realize, if those women are toxic, the minute you say I do, since y'all were banging from the minute you met, the minute you say I do, she stops having sex with you. Or in the case of a toxic woman, she'll stop having sex with you after she gets pregnant, because she wanted to get pregnant within the confines of marriage, and then after she got pregnant, you could go on somewhere. That happens too. So much toxicity and so much dysfunction and so much doing things the wrong way, and then you wonder why things didn't work out. These are a lot of the reasons why it doesn't work out. But like I said, I'll try to put in the description one of his interviews. His name is Matt. Can't remember his last name. But he's got a really interesting perspective, and I like listening to his ideas. I do. He's interesting. All right, you guys take care. Much love.